It's Jason Abraham, the Shadow Teacher, enjoying my daily walk in the cemetery. And today I will be sharing with you my thoughts on the difference between the Ascension process and Luciferian escapism. The Ascension process for the human soul and Luciferian escapism. So, first of all, when I'm speaking of Lucifer, I'm referring to Lucifer from the context of anthroposophy. I'm going to go down a hill. Hopefully I will not be falling on my ass. If I do, I will not edit it, I promise you. Made it! So, again, back to my train of thought. Anthroposophy. This is a spiritual philosophy brought into the world by Rudolph Steiner. I highly recommend that you check out the works of Rudolph Steiner if what I'm saying is of any interest to you whatsoever. And Lucifer, from this perspective, is one of two demonic beings that opposes Christ, Christ being the highest ascended sovereign potential of humanity, and Lucifer and Ahriman being the two demonic beings that oppose the Spirit of Christ, but are yet also essential for the ascension process of humanity. So, about a millennia before the time of Yeshua, or Jesus Christ, on this earth, there was a being who incarnated in human form in the Far East, in Asia. And this being was Lucifer, a great and wise being that lived amongst humanity. And before Lucifer was on this earth, the only way that humanity could access the feeling of higher realms, higher spirits, was through ceremony and through ritual. Lucifer had the gift of gnosis. He was the light bringer, and he shared his process of understanding with humanity, the process of accessing the intellect, of understanding the why, the mechanisms of what these ceremonies that accessed the wisdom of God, what they actually did. And when humanity was able to access this why, then the ceremonies were able to transcend, and humanity was in a state to where we weren't simply just like machines, just kind of blindly going through rituals. We do this thing because it's the right thing to do. We're actually starting to get a higher level of wisdom in our creative potential. And this was the gift of Lucifer. Now, none of this sounds negative, and in and of itself, in this respect, it's not. But there is a little curveball, as Lucifer's intentions here are not simply to empower humanity. He has his own agenda by giving humanity these gifts. And if we fall prey to that agenda, then we miss out on our true ascension process. So, true ascension is a process not of humanity escaping the earth and floating off to some other galaxy. It's actually an embodied process. True ascension is when humanity is able to access the wisdom and the energy from higher realms, bring it into our heart center, engage with it, embody it in our hearts, and then take it down and embody it in our lower chakras. So we're taking something from the high realms and we're embodying it in our human vessel and being a living example of this infinite potential right here on earth. And true ascension is atonement, at one-ment. This is when humanity, the Spirit of Christ awakens in the hearts of humanity. And when the Spirit of Christ is alive in us, we are co-creating with the one true Creator, the God of eternity. And we are consciously able to engage and create with that energy. We're always creating with that being, but most of it is unconscious until we have that awakened Spirit of Christ within us. So this is the true ascension process, being co-creators, the Spirit of the divine awakening within us, and we're awakening to what and who we really are. Now, the Luciferic intentions is that we have access to this higher wisdom, these higher energies, but we fail at integrating it into the earth realm. And what would happen is we get caught in the intellect, we get caught in the delusion because we're experiencing these amazing otherworldly powers and insights, and we start to believe that we are a standalone God. And again, this is a delusion, this is a deception. And when we are deceived in this way, we're actually being controlled by Lucifer, who is a higher, more powerful being than humanity when we are stuck in that particular perception. And the other thing that happens is when we are experiencing these energies and they're done in a non-integrated, non-embodied process, we get this escapism. We get this feeling of being blissed out, and the energy that we're feeling is so overwhelming, but we just don't have the capacity to stay grounded while we're experiencing it, and then we just kind of drift off. We float away. And that is Lucifer's ultimate intention. His way of harnessing souls is through humanity failing to integrate the energy and the wisdom from the higher realms, and then floating off to a distant world, which Lucifer will rule. And that is the great Luciferic deception, which is very different from the mechanism of Ahriman. Ahriman cuts off higher wisdom by deceiving humanity into believing that it doesn't exist, that it's not valid. Lucifer gives you the higher wisdom in hopes that you fail to integrate it. So that's it for today. I hope this video gives you some thoughts to chew on, gives you some stirrings, maybe triggers some stuff. And if it does, good. That means you're waking up. That means you are taking some steps forward in your own ascension process. This is Jason Abraham, the Shadow Teacher, wishing you peace.